Okay, I think we're ready to start. It's 1 o'clock. Welcome to everybody that's joining this webinar on managing data with Teamcenter Rapid Start. My name is Herman van der Merwe. I'll be running this webinar for HPLM today. I take care of all the PLM products for Siemens, all the products from Bristol's perspective with a specialization in PLM for Siemens in Australia, New Zealand, and parts of AP. And I work very closely with Edge on these products, and we agreed that I would assist them with running this webinar today. On the line as well, we've got John Belsham and Sylvia from Edge, and any questions can be raised, and we'll have the contact details at the end of this presentation as well for contacting them with any questions or anything that we want to do. So what we're going to do today is talk about how we manage data with Teamcenter Rapid Start. And it always starts with a discussion with questions like, where do we start? Where do we go next? How do we get there? What's the cost? What's the first steps we need to do? So what we're going to do today is have a look at the capabilities you get with a pre-configured product data management and product lifecycle management system with all your offering tools integrated, and how you can use that to very quickly get to the point where you start delivering some value without spending a lot of time implementing and configuring and wondering about how to do it. So what we're trying to do with Teamcenter Rapid Start and managing all my product data management can really be summarized in 3 simple points. You want a single source of all your product information that allows you to optimize your activities, reduce errors, reduce rework, find all information in an easy manner. You also want an ability to very simply and easy execute your business processes or your company processes with pre-set up workflows and a pre-set up change management process that allows you to get started easily, and it gives you a quality and repeatable product and process. And you want standard integrations to all your offering tools, which include mechanical CAD like Solid Edge, can include ECAD, includes offering systems like the Office suite of products and any other environment that you use to generate information and that you want to capture and manage to give you a collaboration and reuse capability and also enforce consistency. And we can deal with a lot of statements around why it's important and stuff, but I included this one from Tech Clarity just as a point. So if you implement PDM software without significant modifications, it will help you achieve benefits more rapidly. You can get up to quick speed quickly and then grow from there to gain further benefits. And that's exactly what pre-configured PLM with Teamcenter Rapid Start aims to do and allow you to do. It allows you to get up and running in a matter of 1 to 2 weeks. And when you actually want to grow and bring more complex processes and more complex activities into the environment, it's got the capability to scale in terms of deployment, in terms of process complexity, in terms of product complexity to an upper limit which does effectively not exist. So you can be as simple, as pre-configured, or as complex as you need to be, and you can scale into that environment. But you start simple. And it's really focused on 4 key things that we want to look at, which is how do I manage my designs, which is finding, sharing, and reusing mechanical and electrical design information, and how do I manage those cross-domain bills of materials containing all that information in one bill of material, and especially electrical, electronic, and mechanical design are the 3 key ones that drive that mechatronics long view. How do I then manage all the documents and all the associated information? How do I connect these documents to the relevant product? And how do I look at pre-configured and custom reports, finding information, also extracting information out of my designs into my documents? The 3rd leg is how do I manage all this information or manage the processes, where we look at pre-configured workflow and status, as well as an entry-level starting point for change management. All pre-configured, ready to use, ready to go out of the box. And then also, how do I look at all the other pre-configuration capabilities? Managing groups and roles. So you get a pre-configured groups and roles with access, appropriate permissions, security pre-set up, my organization structure, how people work in workflows and stuff. All that things is pre-set up. You install Teamcenter add your user IDs into the system, and you're effectively ready to go. And then you can start fine-tuning that. And what we're going to look at today is how this works and what this capability delivers to you. And you want to start with intuitive search and being able to find information. We know there's parts and information, and there's a lot of attributes and properties associated with all these objects and things. And we need to be able to find it. And Teamcenter, when you start running it, gives you all that information at your fingertips. Everything ends up being connected, and you can find all the relevant information quickly and easily. And what we're going to look at now is an example of this. So you start with your adaptive intuitive search, which is word-based. Click on the areas that you're interested in, and it's all interactive, and you find the results and filter down very quickly to what you want in a graphical environment. You can see you can do it all text-based on the left-hand side as well. You find the information that you're interested in, and the previews and so forth help tremendously. But all the information is there. I can call it up, I can compare objects, I can understand what I'm looking at. Once I find what I'm interested in, I can use the visualization to help me understand whether it's relevant. I can also look at all the attachments and attributes associated with specific revision of this part or assembly that I'm looking at. I saw attachments like a CAD file, design history. I can see all the related objects for this part. So I can see these 6 objects on a higher level that allows to it. Navigate to the gearbox assembly. I can find the frame assembly from there and go up to there to the frame, which is top level assembly of the part. So very quickly, I've worked my way through all the objects. Once I find the assembly or product that I want, I can open up a bill of material, which is a normal traditional tree view that everybody will be quite comfortable working in. I can expand, collapse it. I can visualize the part, all the attributes and properties. I can look at the revision history of the part, make sure it's right. If not, I can open up 2 revisions of the BOM and compare it, the same as I compared the part before. So you can see revision A on the left-hand side, revision B on the right-hand side. I can compare it and make sure it's right. If I find the battery pack or the cowling or whatever I want to work with, I can open that up and I can start looking at it. I've got my integrated lightweight JT files, which I can look at. I can spin the model around. I can interrogate it, cut sections, measure, do whatever else I want to do. It's completely linked between the bill of material tree and visualization. Pick a part, highlights in the tree. Pick a part in the tree, it highlights in the assembly and everything else. So intuitively, I can navigate through and find all my parts, do whatever I want to do. And at this point, I don't even have to actually touch a CAD system that drives my design, which traditionally I would need to do to see my parts. And so once I'm happy with that, I can look at it. And I can now look at my workflow, my documents, and everything else. I can do my document preview. And once I'm happy with that and I've done all the work, I can basically sign off on that workflow task. But you can see there's preview, markups, everything else. And we're going to look at some of these capabilities in more detail in the next hour. But there I can go and look at my tasks. And now in my workflow, I can see who's done what in my workflow, who's reviewed it, who's approved it, what are all the things attached in this workflow for this part I changed in my assembly. Once I've done it, I can complete the workflow and the task is done. And then finally, I can run a report, which is effectively on base level, a query with a format applied to it. I can have it in an HTML format, I can have it in an Excel spreadsheet, and that will give me all the information. In this case, we looked at items by status. So what we're going to do now is look at these areas in more detail, and we're going to look at how I find and reuse data, how I manage my designs, and that's where my CAD integrations to Solid Edge and other applications come in. We're going to look at how I manage documents. We're going to look at the capability for workflow and change management, which is executing processes. We're going to look also at how I report things and a little bit at the additional pre-configured capabilities in terms of organization structure, security, and so forth within the system. So finding and reuse data, we'll go through quickly because we've already seen most of that in my overview demonstration. But basically, it's about having product information at your fingertips, having all the data and processes connected and finding and searching for them easily and viewing all the relevant information in a fast manner. So if we start with that, Again, we'll do another search in Teamcenter, and you can search on attributes, or you can just do a 3-word search like we did here. In this case, we're searching for a battery, slightly different from the previous one. I get my results of the most pertinent one graphs. Once again, I can navigate through the interactive results screen, find the battery pack, look at the overview of the part, the revision, make sure all the properties are right, look at the relations for the battery pack to find all the parts associated with it, as well as the assemblies it's used in and the products it's used in. Once I find that, I can open up the relevant version or revision of the part. I can look at the specific design file, the documents associated with it, and everything else. And once I'm happy, I can open up the specific design. In the preview window in Teamcenter, I still have access to the complete 3D model, and I can interrogate the part, make sure it's right. Whether it's adding a handle to my drill in this case, or the previous one was a grinding machine, or anything else. And once again, we see the same functionality in terms of cross-probing between the BOM structure and the assembly. I can open it up, look at any of the components in there, find what I want to work with, export it out of here if it's for a documentation or a customer need, or open it up in the relevant CAD system or design environment if I need to make some more design changes. And here we're just showing you the capabilities to, for example, cut a section easily through the model if you need to do a measurement for illustration purposes or just for information itself. And once again, I can also look at the associated document where graphics and stuff, attribute properties and so forth are driven from Teamcenter and it's exposed in the document area. And once again, as we said, we can work with the 3D models and do whatever else we want to do. And we can submit this design to a workflow and approve the change we've made. So once again, we look at the management of the information, the structure, searching for it, making the change, and using workflow to enforce the process. Okay, so that's finding, reusing information, and moving it around within the system. Now, the next bit we're going to look at is how do I manage my tools and my designs and the tools that generate all the information I want to manage. So basically, we expose Teamcenter within the design environment. So if you work in Solid Edge, the Teamcenter interface is actually within Solid Edge. If you work in Word, the Teamcenter interface is within Word. And the same for other CAD systems, ECAD systems, and so forth. And that allows you to manage, share, and reuse mechanical, electrical, and electronic design data in an integrated environment. Gives you that single view of product information, along with processes and status. It gives you CAD neutral visualization that allows you to share designs beyond your offering tools. It allows you to manage your product structure to accurately represent all your product configurations. And it allows you to manage what we call a multi-domain BOM, with information coming from a number of offering systems, but presented as one cohesive whole. And there's a lot of capabilities we're going to look at live in a second, but both from managing information, using a bill that's built up from information coming from one or more than one offering system, exchanging designs with customers with their built-in collaboration package and review packages where you can package up your information, zip it up within the environment and send it out and do what you need to do. So all that capability is there and you can do that. It also allows you to use Teamcenter within the CAD system. Whether it's Solid Edge, NX, Solidworks, any other application, it's exposed within there. Create and edit parts, bidirectional synchronization, capture assembly relationships, save parts, reduce overheads. And what we're going to do now is just have a look at how it looks within Solid Edge. So once again, we're in Solid Edge, we've got our product or our design open there, and we want to make some changes to it, right? So there's our current model, and we're now going to use Teamcenter to find the replacement part, bring it into the assembly, and replace it. So once again, in Solid Edge, I open up my active workspace environment within Solid Edge, search for a fan that I want, using my search capability, open up the relevant result, look at it to make sure that it's the right part or component that I want to bring in. And then I'm going to actually insert it into my design, which is what we do now. So we add it to the Solid Edge embedded client, which is the integration between PDM and the CAD environment, and same for other CAD systems. So there's my new component found in my managed PDM environment, which I now insert into my assembly. And we just make the changes, make sure it's all good from a modeling perspective, and then we can start to look at adding things, looking at attachments, saving the result, and approving it. And we also have a whole bunch of tools in there. You can look at my updated document with all the new information in there, including the new part I've inserted. And we also have a whole bunch of tools in terms of importing legacy information into the system, cleaning it up, making sure it's correct, importing it, fixing up the naming and everything through the process. So all the capability is there for working with old existing data as well as new information. And so what we're doing now is just submitting it to a development release because we've made a change. And that was just to show you the integration between PDM and the CAD system. And that's the same for CAD, it's the same for electronic as well. So I prepared an example, but we won't go through the whole example, but we're more than happy to look at it afterwards for people that use both ECAD and MCAD. But the same as I showed you the mechanical CAD, we have the same capability for electrical and electronic design. So here's the Mentor Pads product integrated with our CAD as well, where you can see the same thing. I'm in the electrical design area, open up Teamcenter within here, find the things, and you can see it's the same handle we looked at before. Search all the same parts, find all the relevant results, but in this case, I'm looking for some specific electrical components. And once I have that component, I open it up, make my changes, and once again, this information is done from a logic perspective. It's managed in an integrated build, and the results can go to the mechanical modeling environment as well for space reservation, routing through the product, and whatever else is required. So we won't go through the whole ECAD environment, but you can see it's the same thing. Make the change, get my wiring schematic and diagram and everything else out at the end, and that is part of my complete design, part of my mechanical design, and also saved within the PLM environment. So it's not only mechanical, it's also things. And you can see there, I used Active Workspace. I also have the full Teamcenter menu, like you have in the CAD environment as well. So that's available for both. So I showed you an example of Solidworks, and I showed you an example of Mentor. But we have integration to all the major design environments from an electrical, electronics, and mechanical perspective. And if there's a combination of these that you're interested in managed, we can definitely talk about it, and it's all available. So the benefit you get by managing all these things together, MCAD, ECAD, software, and so forth, means that you can navigate and manage files from diverse mechanical, electronic, and electrical CAD sources. It creates that integrated BOM we spoke about with MCAD, PCB, wire harness components all in one environment. And it's easy to use for a team, irrespective of size. Okay? And it allows you really to access your product data without leaving your design environment wherever you are. But we also acknowledge that there's associated documents and processes that you want to manage. And so we manage designs, but we also manage all the document. And we allow you to create and manage documents in conjunction with product development. You've got integration to the Office suite, access PDM completely within Microsoft Office. You've also got integration to tools like Adobe PDF for not only viewing stuff, but also doing markups and feedbacks. You can also do markups out of things like Word and manage those markups, which we'll show you in a minute. You can manage and associate your Office tasks with PDM and do it within the Office application. I'm going to show you how you can have collaborative document review and markup, as well as execute document reviews and approval through the integrated workflow capability. So we've got all the things from simple searching, complete Microsoft integration, pre-configured custom reports, and everything else that you want. And what we're going to do now is have a look at how this looks. So here I'm in Word. From Word, I just go and say I want to open up a document or create a new document. I get pushed into Teamcenter automatically. I say this is the kind of part or document that I want to create. And once we're happy with that, we add all the relevant attributes that we've decided are needed. So it's a new document, revision A, It's the handle specification. And once I'm happy with that, I choose what I want to do. We can associate templates and so forth to the documents, so that if it's a statement of work, a design spec, a requirement, or whatever else, the relevant template with all the information and attribute mapping is automatically applied. And then you can start to edit your document. You've got full check-in, check-out, version revision control. I'm happy with this document. I checked it back in, and I now want to submit it for review and approval. So I've obviously edited some of the creation steps in terms of putting content in there out. I am now in the workflow, which I started from Active Workspace. I'm sorry, from Word, and I can see in Active Workspace my tasks. I'm also doing a document review, and you can see that I can extract the comments out of Word as individual managed comments in the PLM system, who's done them, as well as the disposition of those comments. Are these changes incorporated into my document or not? And that's all managed. And we saw there that I put my comment in the workflow so people know what they're doing. And this is the comment that comes out of there. Make the changes, incorporate the comment, update the markup functions, which we can see up there, and add the thing to say the disposition is the changes have been made. And at the end of the day, I can push these changes out as a disposition matrix to make sure that all review and modification comments have been incorporated into the environment. So that is just a quick example of using the document management capability. In the same way, you can put attributes and everything else into the environment as well. And I can integrate my documents with all my product definition data, processes, and everything else involved. The next step we go to, and we've already seen bits of that in my different examples, live examples, is how I use workflow and change to execute a process. So I can streamline my product development by automating and synchronizing my processes. And how we do that is by leveraging the pre-configured out-of-the-box workflows, which you are more than capable of modifying and expanding on as your company and process requirements differ over time. But it gives you a consistent starting point of processes that are complete, they work, and they've got all the relevant cross-checks and security associated with the processes as a starting point. And it allows you to review, comment, and approve parts, documents, and any other information in the system. It also allows you to manage cross-functional review teams. You've seen before, and I'll show you in a minute again, that I can have multiple people or stakeholders involved in this review process. I can see who's done what comments they have, and whether they've approved or rejected anything. It can be a simple one-person, one-step review process, or the complexity can be as much as you need over time for your different processes. And it also allows you to customize your workflows to your unique requirements over time. So we have pre-configured workflows, statuses, and so forth. So we, for example, start with status 306090, which is development release, production release, obsolescence, and a couple of change statuses, and engineering order for change, and so forth. Now, these are the things that come standard out of the box pre-configured. You can use them as a starting point. You can change them. You can introduce your own additional ones, not use these ones at all over time. It's purely a starting point, fully usable, and you can change it. And the same for change management, the request form, the change notice form, the change revision, and associating all the words in there. And here's a graphical representation of how the change process looks. We've set the status, checking, and complete. So once again, let's go and have a look at what workflow looks like in a bit more detail, right? So we saw this before. I open up my workflow capability. I choose the relevant capability. In this example, development release. I look at the task self-review and checker review. You can completely auto-assign it, but in this case, based on your people within the system, we've set it up that you prompt you to add one or more people into the steps that will do the review steps for me, so that you have full control over that. Once I've done that, I log into the relevant user ID and my workflow inbox, and I can see the new sign-off task that I need to do. I can preview, for example, a drawing or a model or anything else. I can look at all the attachments in this workflow. I can see there's a couple of JT files, a CAD file, a document and so forth. I can see all the reviewers, self-review and so forth, who's approved and not. And I can look at the reviewers for the next step and see where I am, what still has to be done. Once I'm happy, I add my comments into this workflow. I've looked at the part, I've looked at the drawing, all the other things. We're obviously not going to open up a CAD file based on timing here. We don't have enough time. But you can see there, I looked at the drawing, looked at what the other people did my approval, and I'm done. And I've used workflow, and we go through the process. So I can use these out-of-the-box workflows to automate and simplify tasks. And I can also make them as complex as I need to be, from complete auto assignment through to complete manual assignment and any number of requirements in between. The next bit that goes along with workflow is change management. And what we have as a starting point is an engineering order process that includes the required change request and change order steps. It includes the request form, the engineering order form, as well as folders for all the data associated with this change. And that includes what is the parts or objects or documents driving this change, what are the changes I've made to existing parts if it's required for a change, as well as new objects or new parts or new design components that I'm introducing into my design. And we can look at this and automate the complete process. So you get direct access to the change order and the bill of material and the product structure editing capabilities within Teamcenter, as we saw already, right? Design changes are instantly visible and available to other users, and you can decide what you want to do or what you need to do. And the local status of the design is accurately tracked at all times, of course. So you can see there's my relationship. The browser, couple of requirements, I've got a change associated with it. There's the change, I can see what people have done. And what we're going to look at now is just how this looks. So once again, I'm in the environment. I can open up my change order in the active workspace environment. I can see my revised parts. I can see my reference data. I can do what I want to do. I can open it up in any CAD system required, and I can work with that configured information. A lot of changes won't require me to go into the CAD system, but if you want to or need to, you can, or you can drive the change completely from the active workspace environment. So once again, we're in here, we find the relevant parts we want to work to, we want to make a change. I can see the old parts, the new parts, use all the capability, add the relevant component in. Now, obviously, we're keeping it very simple for the purpose of demonstration capability, but this can be a complex or a simple process. And once we're happy with that, we can go through and we can go and sign off on this change using the associated workflow. Okay. So once we're done with the change, the next point is I complete the tasks assigned to me in the authoring system. Solid Edge, NX, Solidworks, it does not matter. Electronic or electrical design tool. And once again, in the tool, I complete the task. I don't have to leave it. And this is a task driven by a workflow, but actually associated with a change process. And that capability is standard within the pre-configured Teamcenter Rapid Start environment. So it allows me to easily review and respond to changes, and it allows me to automate the design release of the product or part that I'm working with. The next bit we're going to look at is what we call reporting on status. And Teamcenter Rapid Start allows you to generate reports based on accurate, up-to-date product information. There's a number of pre-configured reports available out of the box for quick adoption, and formatted reports can be sent to HTML format, and it can also be sent to Microsoft Excel if you want to, where you can apply additional formats. And I'll show you formatting to display the information in a consumable way. These reports can be edited. You can add your own ones as and when needed, but the basic ones give you all the basic capability that you need from a reporting perspective. So let's go and have a look at what that looks like in Teamcenter. So I click on the reports button. You can see there's a long list of standard reports. You can just browse through it, or you can do your smart search or filter capability at the top to say, I want to look at the status of parts. So in this case, I want to look at items by status. I open the properties to make sure it's the right report. And then I can say generate the report. And I've got a whole swag of filtering capabilities. I care about all parts or components with the name battery or the description battery in the description or name part of the file, owned by anybody over any time. Run the report, and here's all the battery components within the system. I can find the one I want, and I can work with it, or I can use it for review, for communication, or so forth. Once again, I'm in my product structure. I want to run a report on the latest working revisions of all the components within this product structure. So I go and put the product structure report. The revision rule is latest released. I include an Excel formatting style sheet, which comes standard with the tool. And you can see I get my report in Excel formatted. My complete bill of material is exported, revision levels, everything else. And once again, if you want more or less columns, you can hide them here, or you can go into the report and switch for columns and properties on and off. So that was just 2 examples of running a report. One for all parts of a certain description in an HTML format, and another one looking at the product structure in a bill of material and exporting it as a report into Excel for whatever we need to do with it down the line. Basically, the benefit is you can very quickly review the status of anything using this out-of-the-box reports as a starting point. You can get a lot smarter than that, but all these basic capabilities come in there. We also spoke about the pre-configuration capabilities in Teamcenter Rapid Start. So I showed you the integration for CAD systems, document management, reports, workflow, and change. But we also have what we call the administration functions within it. Things like an organization structure, where you can just create your user IDs within that structure, using the pre-wrote rules, which you can expand on. And then, based on that structure, your workflows, your change, your security, and everything else will work automatically, including the standard workflow processes, change processes, and the tasks and the group activities. You can expand on this by adding your own attributes and things over and above the starting ones, but the starting points give you a point to go. And all these business rules are taken care of. When is stuff checked in? When is stuff checked out? How does the workflows look? What is the security in a workflow? You know, as an example, if a part is in a workflow, I'm not allowed to modify it anymore. All those security rules and considerations are automatically applied as part of the PLM solution. And the next question that always comes up is, if I want to expand on this with further functionality, how do I do that? Well, all the capability is available in the Teamcenter environment. So you start with Rapid Start and you expand as you need to into the additional functionality things. It's not a reapplication of the deployment, it is an expansion of the capabilities. You want to bring requirements management in, we just activate the requirements management capability. You want to do some smarter project management with the associated Gantt charts tied to your workflows and things. You just activate the schedule management capability. And in the same way, you just go in the configuration manager and we add all the capabilities as we go through the process. From a deployment perspective as well, there's a pre-set up and pre-considered standard deployment process, taking all the roles and all the activities that you need to do within the deployment into account. And you'll see all the things here featuring in terms of what we look at. It also has a standard project plan where we start on, and we just expand on this project plan and capabilities as you expand what you want to do. But this is why we're saying to get started with Teamcenter Rapid Start is a quick, painless exercise in terms of getting the data management in there, starting to manage all your things in a standard way, and then you expand based on that. And that gives you the ability to have a fast deployment in as little as a week plus a couple of days for training, depending on how much training you want to do. The assumption here is you do deployment on site on either virtual servers or real servers. You can also deploy in a cloud environment if you want to. It's purely a customer-driven choice. It's flexible to fit your company, the people, and the processes. Start with what we have and expand on that. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's full featured, so you can go to any other capability within the whole Teamcenter PDM and PLM suite as you need to. So you're not painted into a corner. It will fit your business today, it will fit your business needs tomorrow. And we change the configuration based on what the needs are. And you scale it as the business grow and change, and you can make the adaptation. And we can include everything we need to and grow in the way we want to. So you can see there, today we spent a lot of time talking about the design management, a little bit of visualization, a little bit of searching, and a little bit of using it with workflow, change, and BOM. But all the capability is in there, and you can grow and change into that environment as you need to, right? So you start with pre-configured MCAD and ECAD. We can grow into requirements, we can grow into schedule, or any of the advanced areas that we want to. We also start with basic change management, but you can include, if you want to down the line, more complex change management if that is a requirement. But many people don't want to do that things, so we have them there as options. But typically you do at least one MCAD, ECAD system, and then you grow into all the other functions. And if there's any of the things that we want to or need to talk about in more detail, we can do that as required. And what I've done now for the last 5 minutes is I've put a couple of slides in just on the detail of the Solid Edge integration to Teamcenter. I'm not going to go through each of them in detail here, but it's just to show you that for each of the CAD systems, this capability is fully available. We spoke about the single source and everything else in there. And the fact that it's for everybody that wants to get control of their data, retrieve information, assign workflow, part numbering, everything else completely. So not only do we do part numbering, but we can also enforce numbering rules, naming conventions. All these capabilities are part of the Teamcenter Rapid Start deployment and the integration. So you'll see there's a lot more detail here. This is being recorded to be shared afterwards, so you're free to welcome to download the presentation in the video format and look at these things in detail. I'm not going to spend time on each of these slides in detail, but you can see here's the key features in terms of searching, finding, managing, classifying data, synchronizing releases of Solid Edge with the PDM and everything else. All the capabilities are there, right? Opening things, replacing parts, editing it, checking, closing, using standard parts, using families of parts. From a CAD perspective and from a usage perspective, none of those things change at all. You use all those capabilities, you just get added benefit of it. Obviously, searching and finding information is a lot more powerful if your data is managed in a PDM or PLM system like Teamcenter, and that's reflected in the capability you have for finding information using the CAD integration. We spent a lot of time showing you the Solid Edge active workspace integration for both Solid Edge, and I showed you a little bit in NX as a second CAD system because we talk about multi-CAD, but you can do the same for other CAD environments as well, like Solidworks, Creo, CATIA, and so forth, if that is a requirement. It's not limited to one CAD system itself. And of course, you could access the Teamcenter classification for all those capabilities. Now, once again, collaboration with check-in, check-out, revision rules, all those capabilities are there. I'm not going to go into it in detail, but you can look at configuration of bill of material within the PLM system straight without touching the CAD system, and then just opening the configured product up in the CAD system to make the final changes. Speeds up activity, very clear control, gives the information to more people, and you use your CAD systems for what they are really meant to be used, which is making the physical geometry changes in the context of the products. Okay, we spoke a little bit about multi-CAD, and within Teamcenter, we really don't care what your CAD system is that you use. We can handle them all. They can all save a lightweight file, what we call a JT file, which is a visualization file. And we leverage in both Solid Edge and Teamcenter this JT lightweight format, which means I can incorporate data from other environments in the bill of material, see it in Teamcenter, and also see that integrated BOM with those components reflected in it in my CAD environment. If you make any changes to the original files, these JTs update and my assembly update as well. So once again, it's that principle of single source of information, all the information available to all users, and I can do whatever else I want to do with the product. We spoke about bringing legacy or additional information in and out. With the Solid Edge tools, we have an ability to run these standalone tools outside Solid Edge, analyze data using Excel, populate and modify property data to make sure that things like naming conventions, revisions, where it's going, part numbering, and everything else is correct. Fix any missing links, missing data, and then I load the data into Teamcenter. And once it's added to Teamcenter, it is now then managed, complete, accurate information. So it's a very easy way to get data into the system and start using it within the PLM environment. And you can use that to bulk load information as well. Then I just added a couple of generic examples of functionality. The ribbon bar within Solid Edge for Teamcenter activity. All the information is in there. I can do whatever else I want to do, work on properties, attributes, check in, check out, and so forth. Because I showed you mostly the active workspace client within Solid Edge, but you can also use the ribbon bar like I showed you in the Word environment. And it's pretty much a user preference of which one you want to use. You've got all the capabilities of managing multiple revisions, starting workflows, all the processes that we want to do. I can use my full classification capability to classify parts, components, assembly, documents, processes, standards, or anything else within Teamcenter. And I can do that in Teamcenter, but I can also do that out of the CAD application like Solid Edge. And once again, I can work with complex data. I can open up all the relevant information, and I have checks and balances in terms of how I look at information, dock it, searching, mapping custom properties, and everything else that I need to manage in the context of my product. Once again, standard integration. We always get asked, if Solid Edge change, will it work with Teamcenter? Yes, the two releases are aligned, and there's also a certification matrix. If you're lagging behind in your CAD upgrades or you want to adopt the newest versions, there's a certification matrix. We typically support a minimum of 3+ releases either way, so there's typically no problem, but you can always look at the certification matrix in terms of how you work with the data, and typically you can use the Solid Edge version you want, and it will work with Teamcenter. A couple of examples of where people used it. This will be available for reference if you want to look at it. We also do naming things. We do things like multi-field keys, because sometimes uniqueness is more than just the part. If you want to do that kind of thing, because you use Teamcenter integrated with Solid Edge, you can do that. And multi-field keys can, for example, use part number, part description, part revision, or any other number of designated properties to define a unique part, okay? And here's an example of 4 parts of the same part number, but the example part at different steps in the manufacturing process. And we use multi-field keys to actually identify those different stages, like the casting, the drawing, the machine drawing, and the final machine part, which is typically what you would model as an example. And we can track all 4 of those, and we use the multi-field keys to do that. So we don't have to introduce 4 different part numbers, because all these 4 parts are actually part 25. But multi-field keys allows me to differentiate between those different stages very easily, as an example. And once again, with property integration, forms, bidirectional information push between PLM and the CAD system, I can capture all the relevant properties. We map all the standard ones that you need, but in every deployment, we deploy or can deploy any number of custom properties and attributes, and they can also be synchronized backwards and forwards, or one directional if the requirement is for that. And once again, all the information is in there, no constraint in terms of working with small assemblies, large assemblies, or anything else. You can use limited update, you can use limited save, you can use simplified assemblies where you do structure expansion as you want to, and you also don't need to download all the documents if you don't want it till you need to. So that's the kind of a couple of the benefits that comes in with working with large parts and assemblies. Which I mentioned before, you can do on-site deployments, you can do cloud deployments, you can do virtual deployments. You also have a deployment center in Teamcenter as part of the deployment that allows you to push out the deployments and updates. We've got no concern about whether you work on a LAN or a WAN or how you work. It's purely your choice. Teamcenter supports all the standard deployment options you have. And with the active workspace client, if that's what you want to use, you don't even have to do a 2 or a 4-tier deployment, which is what we call a rich client on a user environment. For all users and all deployments, it's a choice that you make, how you push out your 2-tier clients, which doesn't use the web-enabled area of Teamcenter, 4-tier clients, which uses the web tier, or active workspace clients, which is for HTML or web-based client that runs through the browser. And you use any of these clients, and mostly people these days are using active workspace, but all the clients are there, and they supply any deployment topology and optimization and plan that you want to make. So there's really no constraint about how you utilize Teamcenter. And of course, the releases are synchronized, so they work together, and it's proven in many places. And I've put a couple of examples in here. There is many examples of where Teamcenter and Solid Edge work together. For example, Savio Machine, Sparkonics, and so forth. And that is really what I wanted to talk about from a presentation perspective. The aim was to sort of use 45 minutes, which we've used, with 10 to 15 minutes at the end. If anybody has any questions, you can type it in now and ask. And I've got past a couple of questions from Sylvia and John that they've received, which we can go through as well as part of this process. But if there's any further questions that comes up, please type them in there, raise your hand in the meeting, and let us know. While we wait for that, if there's... Sorry, Sylvia, go ahead.
Yes, we have 2 outstanding questions in the question box. You should be able to see that.
I can see only one that says source office types. Will it integrate with open source office types? By default, our Office integration is to the MS Office suites. You have the APIs and all the other open capabilities, but you can integrate to the other ones. But as a standard off-the-shelf interface, the interface that comes with Teamcenter is for Microsoft Office. We do interface with a lot of open source tools in the Mendix and other areas, and all the tool components is available within Teamcenter, but it won't interface out of the box automatically to any other one. If there's more specific questions there, if you can pass a question like that along, we can provide a more detailed answer based on the specific example. So it can be done, but it doesn't do it all out of the box. So that's for Office ones. I just can't see the second one, Sylvia.
Yeah, the second
one for me.
Sure. The second one is also from Denver. How to manage part numbers and search option when part numbers are arbitrary and don't have part functionality included in their name. Is that a reference table document needed?
No. That is the reason when I showed you the lab examples, I actually used search on a battery, search on a drill, search on that. But in the examples, you would have seen when I had the graphs for all the search results and stuff, on the left-hand side were all the properties and attributes associated with the objects, including part number, including part description, including revision, including who's modified it, when was it last modified, what's the release status, and all the other properties, okay? And by searching on all those things, and some of them were on and off, you filter it out, and PLM automatically manages all that information for you. On the left-hand side of the search, you still have about 100 or so searches where you can do the traditional search instead of the smart full-text search like we did, where you can say, I want to do a part search, and then it will come up and say, okay, for part search, here's the 10 or 20 properties that you care about, part number, part revision, part description, and you can then say find all parts with this name or all parts owned by Herman or Sylvia or John or whoever else. So all those capabilities are there, but it's automatically managed. You do not have to go and manage any external table or do manage updates to do it. All those properties are available for searching. And what I'll do is I'll just go back to that very first movie we did. And I'll just show you this, my search, which I pre-recorded. So when I do the search here, you will see, and I'll just pause it when we get to the relevant point in the movie. When I search there for a component, and you saw there that we typed in a 3-character search, right? So find everything in the database. 531 parts, 137 files, 7 changes. Notice all the searching down here, like parts, files, changes, documents, all the information and all the attributes are there. And I can do, instead of doing that free search there, I can go here in advanced and say, find any of my 100+ searches within the system and do a more explicit search. In this case, we search all these properties to find everything, and I use my interactive capability to very easily drill down. I care about parts, and you will notice that all the properties and attributes change when I search about parts. And now the most common one is 112 released ones, 42 assembled ones, 37 machined ones, and 37 press brake parts, and 25 molded ones, because this is the category I apply. So I can go through here and drill into them as we do till I get to the right parts. Or I can take a completely different approach, and I can just start and say, I want to search for motors or parts or assemblies or all the kinds of things. And all those capabilities are there. And if there's any more questions on that, pass them along and we will happily answer them. What I'll do is, I have a couple of ones we picked up, which was asked of John and Sylvia in the background. License cost, is it licensed as perpetual or subscription? Your account manager will be able to let you know, so I'm happy to talk about. And you can contact John, or you can contact Edge itself, and I'll just go back to that environment I was in right at the end. There's all the contact information if you want to talk to the guys about it, but both perpetual and subscription licensing is managed, and the guys can talk to you about the detail of that as and when required. The other thing that was asked of them in the background is there a number of licenses, and is there a minimum number that needs to be purchased? Well, you need to buy at least one, but other than that, there's really no limit on these functionality bits. You can buy one, you can buy 100, you can buy 5 if you need now and extend it later to add some more in. There's absolutely no limit. You can expand on that as and when needed and start with one minimum and then go up from there. I spoke about the CAD versions that runs with Teamcenter and the versions of CAD, but the question was asked, and I always talk about it because it always comes up. So Teamcenter, as I said, keeps pace with the versions of CAD. So if I use ST9, ST10, or any of the later Solid Edge versions, Teamcenter keeps pace with them. As the new Solid Edge version comes out, 2018, 2019, Solid Edge 2020, or whatever else, they are certified and validated within Teamcenter and available for use. So we synchronize the release with Teamcenter to make sure that it works and that you can use it. And if there's any specific questions on that, once again, please contact John or the guys, and through John and myself, we can go through and look at all these things. How long, another question we received, how long once installed can I expect to see a return on investment? Well, I spoke about the implementation plan, which can be as short as 2 weeks, including a standard implementation of implementing Teamcenter Rapid Start out of the box and doing some training for users and a bit of admin work. And basically, the system is available for use immediately after that. So I have some examples which I didn't have time to talk about in this presentation on return of value and return on investment, but effectively you start getting return on investment straight after that. And then it just depends on how you calculate it. And I'm happy to work with people offline together with Edge and show you a couple of examples. But payback period can be as short as 4 weeks after implemented to have a real payback on the tool. And then, of course, as you extrapolate that over time, the payback can be quite significant if you do it over a 12 or a 24 or a 36 month time. So payback effectively starts straight after implementation because the system is usable and you save at least 5, 10, 15, 20% process time, searching time, and so forth. And if you use that as a standard starting point, saving 20% searching time, 10% process time over 10 people over a year, that's a significant saving right there. And that's just one very, very simple example of payback or return on investment. Another question we got here is about Solidworks and the fact that we try to use EPDM or one of the other PDM system and it doesn't work. How do we know Teamcenter is better? Well, Teamcenter is the acknowledged market leader in the space. I showed you a couple of examples. We have hundreds and hundreds of use cases and customer testimonials where people talk about using Teamcenter in all different environments and formats with all different CAD tools, not only Solid Edge. We actually manage a huge and very significant amount of Solidworks, AutoCAD, Creo, CATIA, and of course NX and Solid Edge data in deployments worldwide. And we can talk about them. It is the backbone of many of our big multinationals, but also a lot of small to medium enterprises that actually use it, especially in the pre-configured space. And we have a number of case studies that we can point to in various different business things. I pulled a couple of ones around the machinery area, which is typically common, but we have many others that we can go through as the questions come up. And on that note, John and Sylvia, that is what I had to present, and I've now worked through a backlog of questions. If there's any other questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll hand back to Sylvia and we can basically finish the webinar because we've just managed to keep our hour-long allocated time slot, and happy to take questions now or afterwards.
So, Keman, there are a couple of standing questions. I'm pretty sure you can see that, but you need to scroll down with the question box. Just
I'm in the question box, but it only shows me the last one. I don't know why. So if you can read them, I will be more than happy. I will be more than happy to do. For some reason, I'm only seeing can I do shape shirts.
Okay.
That's the only one I know. I'm not sure why I can't see the other one. So I'll do that one. Can we do shape shirts? GeoList is a capability that comes in with NX as a CAD tool, and part of that integrates into Teamcenter. So if there's more examples, we do shape searching mostly from the CAD side, not so much from within the Teamcenter interface, but if we can get some more information on that offline, we can go into the capabilities in terms of shape searching in PDM using the CAD tools as well. But yes, with the right integrations, we most definitely support GeoList and shape searching, and you can do that, yes. If you can read the other ones for me, Sylvia, I'll answer it. I can only see the shape search question. Apologies. Don't know why I've lost my other questions.
Yeah, I think, Herman, let's take it offline and we just prepare the answer for the rest outstanding question, because there is quite a few, I have to say. So thank you, everyone, for all these questions. We will send the answers separately.
Yeah, so let me just see if I close that down. We can do it. I'm happy to do it because for some reason, I see one question at a time and I can't quite see all of them. Apologies for that, but I'm happy to work and email the answers out to everybody to give a review if that's fine.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of information, Herman, for the first time. So thank you very much. Yeah, like I said, if you guys have any more questions, we are very happy that you are active. You are behaving very actively on this one, and we answered all of that. So thank you, Herman, for today's webinar. That was really great to see that one more time. That was very good webinar. So thank you, Herman.
Yeah. Okay, that's perfectly fine. Thank you very much. And on this note, I'll stop the webinar and we'll answer the questions to everybody in that way. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.